Today we're going to ask the question, should you open a local game store? Well, what is going on, everyone? Welcome back to Kitchen Table TCG. My name is Louie, and I hope you're having yourself a fantastic day. Today, we're going to go down the line and ask the question. I get emailed probably at least once a week. Hey, Louie, I'm thinking about opening a local game store. What should I do? Should I do it? What's the process? That kind of stuff. I want to have a conversation and be very, very candid with you guys about my opinions on local game stores, how I came into owning a local game store, and I want to give you guys my advice and my thoughts going forward. I want to start this advice out. My first point is this: do what you want, okay? Don't just listen to somebody like me and let it sway you towards a yes or sway towards a no. I spent probably 5 years of my life not doing this because people on YouTube poo-pooed it so much, and I didn't want to do it because I thought it wasn't possible. I spent a lot of time of my life doing that, not thinking that I can do it. And then I kind of, in the pandemic, started the YouTube channel, and I kind of fell into owning a local game store. And now that I'm doing it, it's been amazing. It's been awesome. I love it. And it is a very, very rewarding process, both, for me in my mental capacity and the things that excite me, and it gives me a lot of joy, as well as from a financial standpoint. It's been great. Some of that's due to the YouTube channel, some of that's due to the way local things operate, but it's been an awesome experience across the board. That being said, there's a lot of things that added to that you may not have in your life and you may not have in your opportunities. So if you're curious about my LGS, you can go to KitchenTableTCG.com, see all the product we offer. You can look us up on Instagram, see some of the pictures. It's a real thing. We have an amazing community. We love drafting on Friday nights. If you're in the Hurricane, West Virginia area, come play Magic the Gathering on Friday nights. We draft, we do Commander on Wednesday nights, yada, yada, yada. So number one, do what you want. And just know that you can make it work. It can be a successful thing if you set up some things down the line. That's not to say that I would recommend it to somebody, and we'll get to that at the end. The second thing, so do what you want. The second thing that you will absolutely run into if you choose to own a local game store is money. Okay, everybody thinks that it's so easy to get product and to sell things, and it's not. It is, if your area is anything like ours, there's a lot of other competition, there's a lot of other game stores, and you have to spend money so that you can attract people into the store. I kind of would average it out to encourage you that you would need up to 3 years of starting a local game store before you can start paying yourself. You would take 3 years worth of energy and time to reinvest it back into the business, to reinvest it back into the store that you're owning and running, so you can earn more customers, so you can build a better inventory, so you can hire some employees, so you can run things more efficiently. There's 3 years, I think, and that's pretty standard for most businesses. But 3 years of saying, I'm not going to take a paycheck. I'm going to sell my Commander decks. I'm going to sell all the things I own so that I can start this business. And a lot of people don't have that ability to separate. Now, I kind of got away from this. I didn't really have to do that because I started the YouTube channel in the pandemic while I still had a job. And I was able to kind of gravitate the YouTube channel with, a lot of the supporters. Shout out to all the Gold Wizards who are the current supporters. At that time, we had Patreon. I was able to kind of create a cash flow of supporters from the YouTube channel that allowed me to start off earlier. Now, I still didn't pay myself for probably a year and a half, 2 years. Some of that I had another job, some of that I didn't, but I wasn't just running a local store. I had built this kind of online brand. I had built this YouTube channel. I had a following, and that really allowed me to propel into that. I also have an amazing wife who works and has a great job and has a steady income. And so that allowed us, not just me, but me and my family, to take a risk of quitting my job and trying to do this full time, which ended up working out really well. And our finances are much better than they were before, but it was still a huge risk, and there were still a lot of things connected to that. So you have to have that kind of ability to continue to sustain for yourself without like a paycheck from your business and that kind of thing. So I would say And those of you who have the ability to put away 2 or 3 years worth of money to try this, yeah, that's great. But if this is going to be your full-time thing, it's going to be really hard for those 3 years in order to become able to pay yourself with a decent paycheck and that kind of thing. Now, this goes towards the idea of, can you run a local store and have a second job and have a regular job, maybe a first job? I've seen people do this, and I think that it's really, really hard. Because in my opinion, to run a store successfully and that it pays for your salary, your full-time thing, is a like 60-hour, 70-hour a week endeavor. It is a lot of work. And this, when we get to the end of this video, I'm gonna give you guys some tips on how to maybe not just hop right in, but kind of move gradually into that field. But yeah, money, you have to have money before you're gonna pay yourself. And then you need money to pay for distribution. And distribution is this wild thing. It seems like, maybe if you've been watching the channel, you know this, but if you haven't been watching the channel, distribution, you always think, oh, I get signed up from distro, now I can order whatever I want, and I'm going to be able to get 30 boxes of the hot magic set, or 20 boxes of this new Pokemon set, and be really easy to get product, because that's how it feels like it should be. But the reality of distribution is it's not that. There's a lot of games that you have to play. You have to pay for things that you don't necessarily want, so you kind of build that relationship with the distribution center so that they know that you're here for the long haul. There's a lot of people who come in real quick into distro, they buy up some stuff, and then they just disappear. And so with your reps and that kind of thing, you have to kind of continuously build this relationship, which means that you need money to buy things that you don't necessarily need today. And that works out if you have that capital long term. I mean, in 2022, I was buying a lot of things I didn't need that are now selling for good money in 2025. And if you didn't need that capital for a couple of years, it works out really well. But if you don't have the capital to buy from distribution when they offer things and to kind of build those relationships and not be able to sell that instantly at a profit or even to get your money back sometimes, it just doesn't work to grow your relationship with distribution. And the same thing is true for local customers. When somebody comes in with a $3,000 collection and you have to say to them, hey, I'm sorry, I can only buy this, this, or that, they're going to take that $3,000 collection and take it down the road to somebody who does have the capital to pick it up and to purchase it. And because of that, they're going to tell their friends to go to that store instead of your store. And it's going to create this economy where people don't bring stuff to you because you're not the person that has the money in the area, or you don't have the capital to pick up collections. And that's where a lot of money is made in this industry. It's not necessarily from distribution, but from individuals selling cards. They're cashing out of Magicthegathering. They're cashing out of Pokemon. Kids who collected their Pokemon cards and now they want to, I bought a bunch of cards from a kid this weekend who was building a gaming PC, and they just want to move their stuff to other things. So at the end of the day, if you don't have a good stash of money, I'm not going to give you a number because that number is probably different for West Virginia than it is for New York. And it's probably different for California than it is Idaho, right? There's different numbers that work for different areas. But the point is that you need to have a stash of cash in order to grow your relationships both locally and with a distribution hub. And so again, it comes back to money. There's an attitude with this money thing that I hear a lot in the LGS community, which is people starting stores because they just want a place to hang out with their friends. And while that's true, if you just want a place to hang out with your friends, you certainly need less money to do it. I don't think that running a business is the best way to go about that. If you want a place to hang out with your friends, my suggestion to you, instead of trying the whole distribution thing and that kind of thing, would be to rent out a place with your friends and just kind of have a small area with your friends that's not a physical store. I think a lot of people try to get that distribution access. It's not as great as it seems, especially if you're not spending volume. And so get involved in a distribution program like my own, the Gold Wizard program in my Discord server, or any of the 50,000 other ones that exist on YouTube. Hop into one of those to get your product for your friends in that local store, area, instead of trying to play this game of running a business. Because once you make this a business, this is another big thing of should I open an LGS? Once you make this a business, a lot of the fun goes away from the game and from the hobby. You almost have to look at this whole thing as, will you enjoy the business more than you enjoy the game? And this is what I found in my life. I love Magic the Gathering. I love sorcery. I love these card games. I love collecting Pokemon. But what I love more than that is being able to build a business around those things, being able to do the things that I love, but being able to pay myself to do it. I really enjoy the business side more, and I enjoy not going into an office. I enjoy not working for somebody else more than I enjoy playing those games. So when push comes to shove and I have to work really hard for 6 weeks and I don't get to play the games, I don't miss that because I love this more. And now I still try to, like, once or twice a month, have a commander night at my house away from the store with just my friends. And that's when I kind of remember how much I love the games and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you have to love the business side more than you love the game. So do what you want, make sure you have money. And then 3, the other resource that nobody really considers in all of this, maybe I just didn't consider, is time. And time comes with kind of a couple components. You have your own time. You also have employee time. And you also have partners. And so I want to kind of go through this whole thing and just say, man, the biggest hiccup for me in owning a store is time away from the family. And I have younger kids, so it's kind of works. I get to be home we don't open till 4 at the shop. And again, like, my wife works in the evenings. So I get to spend a lot of time in the mornings and at home in the afternoons. If I want to, I get to spend a lot of time at home with my kids, and then I get to go to work. And so it works for me. But something I've identified in my life is that as my kids get older, time towards one thing is sacrificing away from another thing. So as my kids get older and I want to be at the house more in the evenings to do movie nights and to do things, that kids do as they get older, it's going to be more and more difficult to own a game store because I'm going to also want to be at my game store and run my business and that kind of thing. In this season of life, this works really well for us. But I can imagine that somebody with older kids would really, really struggle, or if they're just starting a family, right? Like, you've got really young kids, they would really, really struggle with owning a store because of the time away from the house, time away from the family. Now, for some of you, you're single, you're not married, you're not planning on getting married. Okay, there you go. You don't need the time for a family. You can take your time. And if you enjoy it, then you don't really want to go out and enjoy your night anyway. You want to stay at your game store and do whatever. So it's a good thing for those people. But those of you who have families, I think it's a big issue for sure. But you can replace yourself with employees or with partners. So you see how those things kind of align. You've got time, your own time, you have employee time, and then partners. The thing about employees, and I have the absolute most amazing employees, it's really, really hard to find employees that you can trust. One of the things I feel like we've done really, really well, I've hired some people that I know I can trust fully. When they run into an issue, they're going to call me. They're not going to, I know them. I've known them for years. I've known of them for years. I know that they are reliable, that they're not going to be stealing from me. Those are things that really matter. The problem is, eventually those employees will probably move on. And so then it's like, how do you find more employees that, again, are reliable, that won't steal from you, that won't, take cards or, buy things out from. This was a problem we had once with an employee where somebody came to sell cards to the store and they bought those cards out from under the store. That's a big no-no. We have to buy cards in order to make money to pay for that employee's time. So that's a big no-no. So employees really get hard, but if you have a core group of people already in your area that you can trust and that your family friends, your brothers in arms, and you play Commander together and you really know those people at a deep level, that can work really well. But a lot of people don't have that. And I think if you're going to run a store, you're going to want to be open more than you're able to be there, especially if you have family. And so finding the right individuals can be really complicated and really difficult. And you're dealing with an industry that uses a lot of cash, that uses a lot of expensive cards. So you not only need to have somebody who knows what they're talking about, can tell the difference between a unlimited card and a revised card, or can tell the difference between a proxy fake card and a real card. You need that, but you also need to have somebody that's not going to steal those cards from you. It can be really difficult to find employees. And then that leads to the third thing, a partner. So another way to save your time and your energy is to have a partner. And I'm not going to get into it. We have some history with that. But I would just encourage you that those partnership things are even more of a risk than employees. And it doesn't always save your time. A lot of times when you have a partner, when you have somebody else coming up with ideas, it saves the energy, but it also creates more work. You've created more ideas, you've created more ways of things, doing things. And when you have a partner, you bash heads a lot. You have to have meetings. You have to have, better communication. You have to have all these things that I just don't think really fits well into a local game store mentality. Then you also, if your partnership is within the same business, you got to split the profits. So now you've just made it even harder to become, easily with money and that kind of thing. So I would not recommend that. I know other people on YouTube have also poo-pooed that. I just think it brings a lot of chaos into the mix when you have a partnership like that. So do what you want, make sure you have money, and then think about that time, employees, partners, that kind of thing. This is the final thing I want to talk about, is that there are easier ways to start a business in this industry than opening a local game store. And there are ways that you can tippy-toe, just like I did, stick your feet in to create something for yourself that allows you to then eventually own a game store if that becomes what you want to do. And the way that the industry is moving right now is so much focused to online breaking and whatnot, and TikTok, I think that's dead, but the online side of this business is even more large and alive than it was in the pandemic when I started this YouTube channel. And so I would encourage you, rather than starting with a distribution and starting with a local game store and a brick and mortar thing with all that overhead and all that chaos and all that time and energy, in your free time, in your evenings, twice a week, something like that, start building a brand, start building a following on some of those platforms, on Drip, on whatnot, whatever it is. Start building some following on those things. Utilize some of the distribution programs that you see online, get some product, start figuring out the industry, growing your business to a point where, okay, now I can scale back at work. I can either, if you're an hourly employee, maybe you can start working part-time and start doing this part-time rather than just in your free time. And then eventually you can quit your job and you can do this full-time. And then eventually, once that grows to enough to cover some of the overhead, you can use that to cover some of the overhead of starting a retail location. I don't think it has to be black and white, just like jumping in and being like, all right, I'm gonna quit my job now and start a local game store. You can scale this into whatever you need it to be down the line. So that's my encouragement for you. Again, don't listen to anybody on the internet. Do what you want to do with your life. This has been an incredibly rewarding experience for me. I can't believe that I would have said no to this, 5 years ago. If you would have given me the option to just go for it, I probably would have said no to it. And now it's just been such an amazing opportunity for me. I've really enjoyed building community for my friends and for the people who come into the store. So yeah, if you're interested in learning more about all the stuff at Kitchen Table, head to the Discord server. Just go to KitchenTableTCG.com. Discord's in the top corner of the website. Hopefully you have yourself a fantastic day. Be kind to the people around you. We'll see you again next video.